listeners. Welcome to Shit That Goes On in Our Heads, the podcast where we normalize conversations around mental health.
That's right. I'm Dirty Skittles, and alongside my amazing co-host, G-Rex, we're here to share real stories and tips from our incredible guests.
Each episode, we deep dive into struggles and triumphs of mental health, offering practical advice and heartfelt support.
Because no one should feel alone in their journey. Join us as we break the stigma and build community of understanding and compassion.
Tune in and let's start talking about the shit that goes on in our heads. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On Our Heads. Today we have an amazing guest, Andrea, and my lovely co-host, Dirty Skittles.
Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and inviting me to the podcast. I have an amazing opportunity to share something that's really near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, pleasure's all ours. I cannot wait to hear. I was peeking at G-Rex's show notes earlier, and I'm like, ooh, cannot wait to dive in. So wherever you want to start, we're here to just ride along this journey with you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sorry, I had an itchy ear.
It's okay.
That's all right. So I have fur on my mic, so it's okay too. What's going on?
So you all have met before, right? How do you guys know each other?
An amazing story. We were partners, friends, allies at our last company. And it was, Gretchen is just such a warm and loving person that, she comes up to you and she says, "Hi, I'm your best friend." And you're like, "Who are you?" And it was I'll be honest with you, I knew her over the phone in, group calls and so forth. I was in the training and development team at the company, and she was in the customer service area as an account manager. I think you were, right?
As a support manager.
Support manager, yes. Yeah. Support. So there was a lot of times where we would pick her brain and vice versa. She came up to me in new hire and she goes, "I'm Gretchen." And I was like, "Oops, sorry."
No, you know what? We're so good with just using our real names if we have to, because it takes forever to edit it out.
G-Rex. I'm G-Rex. And I was like, "Oh, you're so cute. You're adorable." So we had a long conversation at new hire, which is really hard to do because there was so much going on at new hire that we just, and it was just, from then on, it was like a very natural type. "Hi, Gretchen, how are you? What's going on?" And, you may not talk to her for weeks or months or, a quarter at a time, but you feel like you just talked to her and you can pick up the conversation where you left off. So I treasure those kind of friendships. So I appreciate you very much, G-Rex. I think that this is just, and I love the podcast. This is a great opportunity.
Yeah. So you do this with everyone, G-Rex, because she did the same thing with me. But it wasn't at new hire. She came literally to my desk and kind of leaned in like that and was like, "Hi, I am so, and I'm going to help you if you need anything. I'm right over there." And I was just like, "Okay."
And I loved that about our last company. I did. There was that camaraderie and that we're in it for us. There was no me. It was all we. And I loved that. And, thankfully, when I was looking for my next good thing, that's what I held out for. And by the grace of God, I found it. And I tell my boss every day, "Thank you so much for making me part of the family," because I feel like I opened one door and went in and just felt like right at home. So I'm learning a new product, but my little brain is trying to keep up. I have to feed the squirrels up there.
Just get one of G-Rex's bird feeders. Apparently the squirrels love eating off of that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not even funny. Like I have never been so mad at a little squirrel than I was yesterday morning. For the love of God. Really, I was so, it was like when I got like a full 5-minute video of him going to town on the bird feeder, and he was like digging it, and he'd stand up on his feet and he'd like chew his little piece of corn. So I had to go outside, I had to put my shoes on, had to go outside, I had to get up on the ladder, I had to shoo him off. He flew like Rocky the squirrel off the bird feeder. Then I had to fold up the ladder, and I had to go move it back to where I should have had it. But he was super bold. I'm like, I live on 8.5 acres. I have a bazillion black walnut trees. Go eat that food. Don't eat this food.
Oh my God.
I did not get this camera for you. I know that you love showing off and everything, but you need to go away.
Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious.
So I have a question. You mentioned that you have now found another employer that's kind of filling that need of camaraderie and all of that. Why is that important, do you think?
I think it grows, your brain just thrives on being a family and being a part of something bigger. And when you're just a cog in the wheel and you're just, fulfilling, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't motivate me and it doesn't keep me interested. So when they said, hey, we need you to build this training department, it's working, but it's not where we want it to be. I'm like, cool. You mean I get to really kind of think about what I want to do and how I want to do it and the vendors I want to pick and all of this stuff. So it was like taking everything that I had learned for the last 10 years at Ultimate UKG and applying it by myself. I have a team of 2 and they are good and I love them, but it's okay. Well, we got to figure out how to do this. I don't know how to, we got to figure it out, but there is a roadmap. So for me, having that type of camaraderie and going and being able to go to even the founder and say, hey, I had an idea. That's exactly the way it was at Ultimate Software. I have an idea. Can we think about doing this? Well, get back to me. What's ROI? How much is it going to cost? All of that. And then, if it's a yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, then let's try it this. No, and let's try it this way. Let's get something, but you're on to something. And I find that here very easily at KaiNexus.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes work not feel like work.
Yeah,
exactly. When you're in it together.
Yeah. And the fact that you get to be creative, and I'm such a creative thinker and an imagineer that, I can say, hey, what about this? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, tell me more. And I'm like, okay, let me wing it. Okay. So, some of the times that gets me into, okay, you're on the project now, go for it. And I'm like, so, but, and that is what kept me going when I was looking for a full-time role. I wanted something that would challenge me and not just, okay, I've done this and now I'm going to just go do it over here. I didn't want that.
Yeah.
Because you'd already had that, right? You're like, I don't feel challenged. I loved every day. And my former boss and I talk quite often. I would say once a month we chat, ping each other. What do you call it? With the thumbs. Yeah. So texting.
Text.
Starts with a T.
Ends with a
T.
Texting. And, we check in on each other. And I love that because I feel like I'm still part of it. I text my former team almost every other day and say, hey, look what I did. I wrote a blog a week ago and I was like, hey, read this blog. And they're like, holy crap, look at what you've done. This is amazing. Cool. So, it really is, it's rewarding to take the things that I learned at UKG and apply them somewhere else because I feel like 10 years ago, I was not in the training department and now I'm leading a training department and a support team. And I love every minute of it.
That's great that it's as rewarding as.
But, one of the things that I was telling G-Rex is that when I started this journey of looking for a job, I was like lost. I didn't know where to start. I just knew that I had to go on LinkedIn and I had to go on the other one. I forget what it, I can't even remember now. Indeed. See, I've got sun brain. Let me tell you, the sun zapped your like mental capacity to talk. So anyway, and that's all I did was like, I went on and I just applied and I applied to over, I think it was at 870 resumes out the door before I found KaiNexus. And within 5 minutes, maybe 35 minutes of me literally putting in my resume, I had KaiNexus on the phone and they were like, we want to talk to you. And I was like, what is happening? What is going on? And the conversation with the HR director and I was just like me talking to my former HR, chief HRO. Chief people officer. It was amazing. It was just like a very candid conversation, very, very open, two-way dialogue, all of that. And I was like, I think I found the next, no, this is it. So within 3 weeks, I was talking to the founder and the chief revenue officer, and we were making plans on how I could get in the door. And it was just amazing to me how fluid and how amazing it was. But the reason why I wanted to come on the podcast is that when I was looking for this job, and I did send out 870 resumes, and I sent out another 10 after my first initial call because I was like, better safe than sorry. I'm going to send out some more, but they didn't, it felt wrong. And I felt like this is awful. And I probably looked at 15 jobs to send out one. And I was like, there's nothing in me. There's nothing left in the tank. I can't do this. And I want to work at KaiNexus. So I made it happen. And they made it happen with me. And I just was like, it was a match made in heaven. But when I was going down this journey, I kept seeing and hearing all my friends falling at the wayside. I can't do this anymore. I can't. And I would pick them up and I would say, yes, you can. You are strong. You've got this. You have a story to tell. So finish the story and then tell it after the story ends when you are back on your feet. But they were like, I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my family. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but keep going. You've got to keep going. And they did. They started to tell their story and it made them feel better about, okay, now I can keep going. And it was a community out there that really kept our spirits alive. I would check in on my friend Molly. Molly would check in on me. I had a friend, Cynthia, who would absolutely every week, I would be out by my pool and she was like, she'd call me and she was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you? What are you doing? And she had just gotten a job. And I had, the minute she got a job, I was let go. And I was like, how did this happen that the two of us are like carrying this journey on? I'm carrying your torch. She was like, I know. And it's bad out there. And I was like, so she would coach me. She would give me tips and I would use them. But, the biggest reward was the people that I met, that were strangers that are now my friends, people that were willing to say, you know what, I know I'm working, but I'm going to step out and I'm going to talk to you because you need a friend. And I'm like, yeah, I need somebody to talk to. I need my spirit boosted. Your family is a big piece of that. And when they keep coming to you and say, how's the job search? And you sit there and you say, don't ask me that question. Everybody asks me that question. I don't want to be labeled as the girl with no job. I want to be labeled as the girl who is going to find her next thing. And I want to be a positive. And you asking me how it's going, I don't want to be labeled like that. Don't put me in that corner. So, and I was telling Gretchen, I was like, there's a story here. What's tea for you is a journey for me. So let me tell my journey and let me really focus on what it is that I want to accomplish. And that is to be an advocate for people that are like, ugh, I can't do this. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. And there are books out there and you could read the first book, chapter or two, and then, okay, I get it. I get it. But really where the heart comes from is talking to someone. You can read it all day long, but that book is never going to talk back to you. It will tell you things, but your book will not say, I love you, Andrea. You got this. This is easy. What you've done hard. When I went up the mountain in Machu Picchu, my husband and my daughter at the same time, we were on two different chats, I think at that point, but we had a third chat going. But my husband said, you got this. And my daughter at the exact same time said, you've done hard. And that was the mantra that got me up that mountain and over the hill and back down on the other side 4 days later. That was my step was, you got this, you've done hard. You've got this, you've done hard. And I used that when I had bad days and I would send out a resume, and I would send out 25 resumes in one day. Sometimes I would send out no less than 10 a day. And it just got to the point where some days I would be like, not today. I'm not doing it today. I'll go. I became a docent at the zoo. So I had that deflection of energy where I could do something that I wanted to do. It's not about looking for a job day in, day out, day in, day out for 5 days and then taking 2 days off. It's take it. If you want to go to the store, go to the damn store and get your milk and come back, and then maybe send one more, and then go watch some King of the Hill and then come back. But don't sit there for 8 hours. And I would do that, but I had the stamina some days. But then some days I'd be like, you know what? It's 10 o'clock. I can't even go upstairs and look at my computer. I hate it. I hate my computer. And I get that. But that's when I would sit back and talk to my friends and say, hey, you got a minute? I need some motivation.
I got one of those calls. That's how you ended up on the podcast. But like, I have a couple, like 2 questions, unless you have something, Dirty Skittles.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Like, my first question is, when you initially got laid off and you had to come to the realization that now you need to go find a new job, like, what were was there anything good that came out of that?
You know, the fact that, no, it wasn't all bad. None of it was bad. Actually, I did not feel anger. I felt bad for my team because my team was left holding the bag. They had to do as much work. They had to produce more. They had less people, and we were getting ready to open the floodgates. So it was like, wait, you're going to do this with 3 less people, and you're going to expect more with less and produce bigger and better. And I felt bad for them. And that's what made me cry. That was like not the loss of the job, the loss of the family, the loss of the dynamic of seeing them every day and laughing every day, but also the fact that they had to carry my burden. And I hated that. I absolutely, to this day, I can't think about, how much, and I know they've gotten smarter. They're working smarter and probably working just as hard, but it still pained me that I was not there to help them carry that torch.
And that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That hits hard.
Yeah.
That hits hard.
That's why some days when I had a bad day, I was like, I didn't want to look for a job. I wanted to help them. I wanted to make a difference in their life. And I know I had to make a difference in my life, but I also felt bad. And I felt bad for I talk to my former director all the time and I say, I don't know how you did it. I don't. You had to let 3 people go in the same day. That has got to be debilitating. I've done it, and I've done it for, my team, but I wasn't the one driving the boat. And to me, it was almost like, I don't know how she came back from that. I really don't. And I'm glad she did. And it kind of it made her kind of think about, all right, nobody's safe. Nobody. And I got to the point where I was like, I want to be in a place where I'm safe. I'm driving the boat. Now I am driving the boat and I am making things happen, and I want to make things happen. So I'm glad I did. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah. What did you learn about yourself through this? In the darkest of days when you were just not feeling it to where you are now?
I think how strong that drive is. I always said, God, I don't want to, when you saw kind of the writing on the wall before you were let go, you were like, I don't think so. And I'm talking about a prior job at another company. I was like, I can't look for another job. I can't look and be at a 40-hour job and then do the things that I want to do. I just can't. But I think that having the determination you're right, it is a full-time job. And I'm glad that it's such a hard question to answer. I guess I was surprised at myself for being so resilient. I thought I would, I took a day and I was like, I went through all the stages of grief and dying and all of that. And I came out the other end and I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people. So I think that what I also learned was that I know I don't like new environments and talking to new people, but I learned how to do it. I still don't like it. And I still, my first day at Kinexus, I was like, literally, I had to drive to Austin because that's where I'm based out of. And it's about a 65-mile job. And the whole way down up, I was listening to my favorite tunes because I knew I couldn't get into that space. And I pulled into my parking space where I parked. I don't have a assigned parking space. But I pulled in and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be awful. And I only met 3 people, probably 4 people. So I really had to go in deep and learn how to engage with people I didn't know. And my mom had told me many years ago, because I told her, she says, what's one thing that you fear? And I was like, a room full of new people. And she was like, why? And I was like, yeah, not knowing anyone, it's awful. She goes, you know what? Think of it this way. Think of it as they are privileged to know you. Now go in the room. And I'm like, oh my Lord. Are you kidding me? And it made such a difference. The turning the tide of me getting to know them. No, they get to know me.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been through something similar, and there's something you said that I was like, that's exactly how I felt, where you're going through these stages of grief after being laid off for the same reasons. Like, you don't want anybody to carry your burden, and that feeling of guilt that you're not there to kind of fight that fight with them. And I can totally relate to all of that. Yeah. So does that feeling ever go away?
No, because I will reach out to my friends and I'll be like, how's it going? And I know that they're doing very well, but the feeling of me saying, oh, but I wish I could help you. I wish there was something that I could do. But now I look at it as I have a brand new team. Now I've got to take that energy and I've got to take that and say, what can I do to help you? I know nothing about my new job. I know nothing, but I am learning. But what can I do to help you? Tell me. And maybe I have an idea. Maybe I'll throw something against the wall. And it's like, I tell them all the time, I was like, this is just spaghetti. I'm throwing spaghetti against the wall. Let's see if it sticks. And if you've ever lived in New England, you would know that's how they find out if pasta is ready. They throw it against the wall. And if it slides down, it's, or if it doesn't stick, it's not ready. So, and they looked at me, they're like, well, but you don't know anything about this. I was like, yeah, but I've been around the block, and sometimes I'll say something and they'll be like, oh, okay. Well, that's a good idea. Well, okay. I'll be like, I have no idea what I just said, but make it happen.
But those same feelings you had, when you got laid off, the same thing happens to people that take a retirement and then go back to work.
Right.
Because I did take the early retirement.
Yep.
And I loved my team. I just didn't love a whole lot of other things.
Right.
So, I still call Dirty Skittles every day. Like, I feel bad that I hear the struggles and I feel bad that there's nothing I can do except maybe make her laugh or tell a dumb story and hope to God that cheers her up a little bit. But, I had the same feeling when I went into my new job, right? So I'm working as a part-time consultant, and y'all know me. I'm an extrovert. I'm super extroverted, right? So it's a fully remote company. And I just started introducing myself just like I did to the two of you, right? Yeah. I just started introducing myself. And now, I still check in with people that I used to work with, at the old company. Yeah. And I check in with people here at the new company at least twice a week, right? It's all about connection.
Yeah.
But, it's also good for my self-love and my self-care because it soothes that need for my extrovertedness to talk to people. I'm not good at not staying by myself.
Yeah. And, I wasn't ready to take that early retirement. I really didn't. I didn't want it. I thought the package was, kind of stupid. But, for some people it worked. And for me, it didn't. And so, and I talked to my husband, who is a financial advisor, and I was like, what do you think? And he was like, this is for us. This is no. I was like, me too. And I'm not ready to take it. So but that gave me the yellow light warning of, wait, they're getting ready to get rid of they want this many people. And they told us how many people, right, Gretchen? They said, we want X number of people or X percentage of people. And I think you even asked this, what happens if you don't get that? Yeah. And they were like, well, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. And I was like, wow, this is... So, it got to the point where I was like, I'm starting to see more and more. And then the week that I was laid off, I was like, something doesn't smell like a duck or walk like a duck, and it's not talking like a duck. I think this is something's up. And then sure enough. So when my boss pulled me in, I knew, what was happening, and so I was like, okay. But it was a shock. And it was just like, what now? What? I'm not ready. Yeah. What now? I was not mentally, I really wasn't mentally prepared. And so I had to dig deep fast. And I had to, thank goodness, I used my one of my peers said, let me give you my resume that I just paid $350 for. And I was like, great, because I have no idea what I did. I really don't. I'm like numb. I do not know. So I borrowed her resume and I crafted the best resume out there. And Stephen Bartlett even says, there's nothing I can do to change this resume. This is the most amazing resume. I'm tooting my own horn, but time after time, recruiters would say, oh my gosh, your resume is perfect. And I'd be like, I know. I don't know how, but I did. And I got to tell you, I used Chat GPT a lot. And I would, I'd say, how better to say? And then it would come back and then I would massage that. So it really helped use all your tools is what I'm saying, people. Use all your tools. Don't just try to work on the internet or Google this or try, I am AI. I think it's wonderful. So, sometimes I will say, okay, why am I feeling this way? Chat GPT, what should I be feeling? And it'll say, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to go talk to somebody. That's stupid. So I will pick up the phone and I will talk to somebody.
You mean the AI dude didn't come out from your computer and give you a hug?
I call my Chat GPT Chet the Chat. And I will say, Chet, tell me what I need to know. and it's just, it's kind of funny because it builds on your character and it starts to really morph into your writing voice. So I love it. I think it's, whoever invented Chat GPT is, in my book, it may take over our lives and our world and we may be working for but
working for the robot. Yeah.
But I do love it. And, I want to make sure that everyone out there, realizes that, yeah, you may be in a dark space and a dark place, but there's always somebody that you can talk to and say, I just don't even say anything. I just need to vent. I love my husband. I tell him all the time, I'll say something. I was like, no, I wasn't asking you. I was just needing somebody. I needed a pair of ears. I don't. Thank you. Good advice, but I just wanted to hear myself moan or I want to just kind of hear it out loud. And you'd be like, well, why wouldn't you want my advice? And I'd be like, okay, give me your advice.
I'm going to go talk to the pillow.
I'm going to go talk to Chet because Chet knows.
Chet knows all your secrets.
Chet knows.
For anybody who could or is going through this, do you have any tips or anything that you found particularly helpful?
Yes. Stephen Bartlett gave me this. He said, it's not a job. Looking for a job is not a job. It shouldn't be a job. So don't make it a job. Go do something. And he gave me his examples. I go to the soup kitchen and then I go to Zumba and then I don't even talk to anybody on whatever day it was. And I was like, yeah, that's right. And I've already applied. I had at that point applied to be a docent at the zoo. And I was like, yeah, I don't know anything about zoos and I don't know anything about animals, but I like looking around and I like looking at them. I like walking around the zoo. So I'm gonna go volunteer. So I did. And that really helped me because I met a few people that were just so lovely. And we would just kind of goof around and we'd be like, oh, look, there's a capybara. And we would tell people the things that were on the sign that they could read. But we made it sound so official that But it made it fun and it made it interesting. And then I would come home and I would eat lunch or I'd go do an errand. Then I'd come back and I'd send out maybe 8 or not. And then the next day I'd be ready to go. And that's when I would crank out 15 resumes or 20 resumes. And the other thing is, when you're looking for a job, this is something that women are very guilty of. And that is, don't consider, are you right for the job? Consider, I've checked these many boxes off. I'm going to send it and let them decide, is my background good for them? And I got more interviews. Listen, I got about, I want to say, I forget what the number is, but I will tell you that I had over 117 interviews in 7 months. And 5 or 6 of those were for KaiNexus, my current company. But I would go to final rounds with a lot of companies. And it got to the point where I would say, or maybe they would say, no, this is okay. But I really would go to the final rounds and they'd say, well, you're one of 3. And I got that so many times. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, well, I'm one of 3. That's how many. And I would say, how many resumes did you? Oh, thousands. That would give me a boost. I didn't get the job, but that would keep me going. All right, well, I'm one of 3. That means in probably 9 more of companies, I will be the one. So it's kind of a numbers game, and people say it's not a numbers game. It really is. Get your resume out there. Do it. If you think it's an interesting job, okay, send it anyway. If you don't even, you know what? At least your resume is in their system. I had a few people come back to me and say, you applied for this job, but we really think, would you be interested in this job? And I'd be like, okay. And I would use that interview time as a way to practice. And I became better and better. And it really wasn't, Gretchen and Charlene, it really wasn't until I was talking to Stephen and I said, I'm doing something wrong. And I think I'm over preparing. I need to just cut out all the politics and just be me. And I went into the next interview and I nailed it. And I was like, that's it. That's what I did. And then the next company I got. So I was up between 2 companies at the time I got this job, and KaiNexus knew it. And I was like, but I really want this job. So I ended up getting an offer. And I said, you know what? I want KaiNexus. That's what I want. And that's what I did.
Yeah. That's my biggest advice to my friends and family is like interviews. I always approach it like it's a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm getting to know them just as much as they're getting to know me. It takes the pressure off of it. And I've had some of the best interviews and conversations that way.
Right.
Because if I over prepare, I'm nervous.
Right.
Yeah. You got to just be yourself.
Be yourself. You can learn about the company. And I would spend hours learning about the company, and they wouldn't ask me a question. And I was like, well, I could have been out by my pool paddling around, but no, I had to learn about your company. So.
Yeah. If you prepare for it like it's a test, then I feel for me, that mentality that I could fail is there.
Exactly.
But if I approach it as a conversation, I'm just getting to know you.
That is the key. It's a conversation because you're going to be working with these people and they want to get to know you, not the facts that you have in your head.
Right.
We can teach you. This is what I would always say to my rising stars. We can teach you the product. We can't teach you the essential skills. You have to come with that. And I did not heed my own advice.
Right. So true. So like during that time, like what kinds of things did you do for like self-love and self-care? Were you taking care of your mental health? Because there's a huge piece of that comes into play.
I would make sure that I stuck to my sleeping schedule. I would read books that had nothing to do with job search because I had to step away from it. I made sure that if I didn't go to the zoo because it was too cold or too hot, that I would do something. I checked in on my mom. I took more time to be with her because, it was a way for me to kind of just step away, get out of and I have a room upstairs that I use as an office. I would not come into this room and just play in this room. But this was my job searching space. And that was kind of what it meant. So for me to come back in here meant that I was pulling myself in, and I had to step away from that. I wouldn't come upstairs Friday and Saturday and Sunday. I would just, Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, I would leave that for Monday through Friday morning. But, that was the self-care and making a game. Oh my God. I made a game out of the number of resumes that I would send in a day, and I would color code them. I had a spreadsheet. I was doing my project management to the hill. I knew green meant that I was going forward. I'd put it on the next page. I would put in a column who I was talking to, the website, the names, the passwords that I would use to get into all of that. I made it a game, and I made it to the point where my project management is now something that I reflect on, because I do work for a continuous improvement company. And I said, you know what? I used this as a way for me to continue with my sharpening of my lean skills, and my Six Sigma skills. So I think that really helped me to, hey, I'm at, 14% success rate. Somebody reached out to me. Hey, I got an email that said I'm rejected. Boom, I'm going to put it in gray. I love that. Put it in gray. So I made it a game.
I love that.
This is so cool. And it's all really practical tips that people can use. Because you know what? We all get into our heads when that's happened to us. We either have gotten laid off, we got fired, or we rage quit.
Yeah. Rage quit. Yes. I've done that.
And then it's that day after, or those few minutes after, you're like, fuck, what just happened?
Yeah.
But then if you can, as we're all a little older.
Yeah.
So maybe for anybody in the younger crowd when this is happening, just take a step back, right? Take a step back, take a deep breath, don't react. Okay. Because reacting is the worst thing you can. Don't react. Just take back and have a moment to yourself. And it could be an hour, it could be a day, it could be 3 days. But take that step back and just take it in, because it is a shock to your system.
It is.
But also remember to love yourself and care for yourself while you're going through this. Yeah. Because I'm just going to tell you, adulting sucks. All right. So that's the worst part of adulting right there. Is how am I going to get food on my table?
Yeah.
So be good to yourself. Write stuff down, journal, get outside, get into nature when it's not 147,000 degrees outside or minus 30. One of those.
Yeah.
Find things that make you happy.
Right.
Live for that moment. Reflect on a tiny bit on what happened. But 9 times out of 10, when you get laid off, it is not your fault.
It's not your fault. That was the biggest thing. What people would say, what did I do wrong? And I would say, you didn't do anything wrong. It was a business decision. And you have to appreciate that the company had to do this, or they, that there was something. But I truly feel that companies don't purposefully say, you know what, I'm going to lay off Andrea today. I think I didn't like what she wore yesterday. I'm going to lay her off. And it's not your vision or your line of thinking or in your game plan. So you just have to accept it and move on, and that was the biggest thing my husband said. He was like, you know what? It was on a Wednesday and he was like, take off the rest of the week. And I was like, no, I got to find a job. We're going to lose a house. I've got to. And so he said, you know what? Then go create your resume, do it, but do it. And don't think about why it happened, that there's time for that. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he was like, just, just breathe. We got this. And we've handled a lot of things. We've been married 43 years, going on 44
wow.
next.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. 2024. Yes. 44 years next, in August. And, we've seen a lot. And so, create yourself a partner. I always that was one thing that one of my former bosses, when I was in my early 20s, would always say, create yourself a partner. If you have something that you need to go through it with someone. And I did. I made a lot of partners this last time around. But even when I make decisions at my current job, I'll say, hey, let me run this by you, or let me throw this at you. I've got an email that I got to send out, but let me let you read it first. And it's not a matter of me saying, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like, I need a second set of eyes. Or even I'll throw it up to Chet, and Chet will say, no, don't send that.
I was just going to say, did you ask Chet?
Chet is my good writing buddy. But, it's very interesting that, you different perspective is really the mantra is, and I don't know how we got off on this, but I think it's really important that you don't go on this journey alone, that you have people, and you have people that love you, and they may say weird things, and you'll say, okay, let's not talk about that right now. Let's focus on this. So you sometimes have to steer the conversation, or you'll say, okay, it's not about you right now. It's about me. I'm talking about me. And be selfish and be, let me call you tomorrow about you. But today is Andrea Day. I'm going to talk about me.
I love that you're honest about it, though. You're like, I'm here and I'm going to let you know exactly what I need.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. And it sets expectations, and it sets realities for people. And they're like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, hearing this story, there's like a couple of themes, right? It's like, I feel like when you get laid off, it's natural to feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the themes that I keep hearing is like finding your support system and asking for whether it's help from someone or just somebody to vent to, but like reaching out when you need to, because you're not alone.
Yeah.
And you can get through.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of Simon Sinek because I love him, and Adam Grant, love him probably just as much. But a lot of things, right now I'm reading a book called Atomic Habit by James Clear, and that is kind of the mantra of Kinexus. And it really talks about taking tiny changes and expecting remarkable results, or making remarkable results for yourself. But building good habits really starts the foundation of your growth and your eternal evolution. And we never stop learning. One of the things that someone asked me, they said, what are you learning? And I was like, I'm learning that I don't want to learn, and I really don't want to learn. And I'm really old, and I don't want to learn anymore. My brain wants to just stop learning. And she laughed at me. She was like, why? And I was like, yes, and at the time I was like 50. And I was like, because I'm 50 and I don't want to learn anymore. And she just started laughing. She's 10 years younger than me. She was like, oh my God, stop talking like that. And I was like, you're right. I need to keep learning, and I keep learning, and I keep learning. And, I will call my mom sometimes. I'll be like, you know why tennis balls are yellow? And she'll say no. And I'll be like, good, I get to teach you something today. So, so it's, even taking that little nugget of, why do squirrels not eat the black walnuts? Why do they want the, bird seed? There's a reason for that. You got to learn it, and then you got to share it because it's funny. Sometimes the anecdote is very funny.
Yeah, because the food is free, right? And I don't really
free.
have to work for it.
Yes.
The ladder out. It was
Because
an
I left the ladder
invitation
out.
to enjoy.
Right. Right. Why does my bird bite me all the time when I give him nothing but unconditional love and free food and blueberries? Who eats blueberries every day of their life? My bird. Yes. And they're not cheap. Oh, why do they bite me? Why does he choose to bite me and not the blueberry? I don't know.
I think you need to ask Chet.
Yes, because Tiki will just say, I love you. He'll just say, bye, I love you, bye-bye. Like, no, you don't.
I love this. Thank you. Thank you. This will be so helpful because there are so many people out of work right now that are looking for jobs. And it's a pain in the ass. It is. But you have to keep your mental health in check. You need to be able to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
You need self-care, self-love, and set up your boundaries, because you know what? Nobody needs drama while they're trying to find a job.
Right. Consider yourself a drama-free zone and keep that drama away. I'm like that. My mantra, my husband and I's mantra is we're in a drama-free zone, and we're pretty good about keeping drama away. Every now and then it creeps in and we're like, oh, no, let's go deal with this and let's do this. But other than that, just keeping yourself whole, keeping yourself honest, being true to yourself and loving yourself and, saying it's okay to fall down. It's okay. Get back up. Just don't wallow in it. Don't just get up and keep going. Keep going. And you do amazing things and make it a habit. If you fall down, just keep going. Fall back up. I love you too. Thank you, Charlene and Gretchen. You guys are making a difference in the world. And the shit that goes on in our head, it makes me laugh. It makes me cry. And I will say that you are part of my journey. When I drive up to Austin once a week, you are a podcast that I do listen to. And I throw it in there and I'm just like, oh my goodness. I love this.
Oh, I will.
Oh.
All right. Love you, ladies.
Love you.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good rest of your day.
Hi, all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm G-Rex.
And I'm Dirty Skittles.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'd love to listen to your feedback.
We can't do this without you guys.
It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.